There's always that one house that takes Christmas decorations to the extreme, lighting up the whole neighborhood with thousands of lights and props. Today, we'll be looking at the top 15 next-level Christmas decorations. Number 15. The Hyatt Christmas House. Every year, families across the world put up Christmas decorations around their homes, with some striving to outdo their neighbors at all costs. For residents in Plantation Acres, Florida, however, this was always going to be a futile endeavor, because they live near the Hyatt family, who for several years put on one of the most fantastical Christmas displays you'll ever see. Known as the Hyatt Extreme Christmas, the family's plans were always so huge and outrageous that they would have to start construction works in September. They'd install almost 200,000 lights, a 20-foot tall Ferris wheel with stuffed animal passengers, a 30-foot tall Christmas tree, life-size gingerbread men, a snow machine, and a 20-foot screen that played Disney movies on a continuous loop. There are 8 homes on the cul-de-sac where the Hyatts live, and each year they dread the noise and the commotion that it would all cause. But the displays always proved popular for others, and people would travel from miles around to see it for themselves, with some families considering an evening at the house to be a Christmas tradition in its own right. With increasing pressure from the authorities, though, the Hyatts were forced to reduce the number of days that their display was turned on, and due to family difficulties, they stopped it altogether a few years ago. Still, for those who were fortunate enough to see it in real life, the whole experience remains a fond Christmas memory. Number 14. The Kobe Luminary Light Festival. In 1995, the city of Kobe in Japan was struck by a huge earthquake that resulted in the loss of 4,600 lives. But rather than have a somber memorial each year, the locals instead host the Kobe Luminary Light Festival as a sign of hope and recovery from a time when the city was left in darkness. Held in December alongside the Christmas celebrations, more than 200,000 individually painted lights are displayed around the city, and amazingly, they're all powered by electricity that's generated from biomass fuel, making this one of the most environmentally friendly Christmas light displays in the world. The lights are donated to the city by the Italian government, who sent artists to Japan to help with their design, creation, and installation, and they're switched on for several hours each night for 2 weeks. It's become an annual tradition for people from across Japan and the rest of the world, and regularly attracts 3 or 4 million visitors each year. As well as providing a breathtaking display, there's a serious fundraising side to the festival, and it usually raises several $1 million to assist the families of those affected by the earthquake, and to help the less fortunate residents of the city. Number 13. St. Augustine, Florida. The city of St. Augustine in Florida was first founded in 1565 by Spanish explorers, and holds the record for being the oldest continually inhabited European settlement in North America. As a result, this is a place that's steeped in history, and one of the most spectacular traditions is the annual Nights of Lights Festival. Held around Christmas each year, it's been running for 26 years and has its roots in the Spanish tradition of lighting a white candle in the window over the Christmas period. This is now expanded to the next level in St. Augustine, though, and begins with the huge Christmas tree in the Plaza de la Constitucion and countless lights illuminating the surrounding trees and buildings. Most businesses and restaurants take part in the festivities, and barely a window, doorway, or any part of a building can be seen that doesn't have a twinkling light placed in it. It's one of the most magical Christmas displays that you'll ever see, and is understandably regularly voted as one of the most recommended places to visit in the world during December. Number 12. Robo-Lights. The Robo-Lights Festival began life at the home of artist Kenny Irwin Jr. in Palm Springs more than 30 years ago, and it became so popular that in 2018, it took place over a 4-acre site and attracted hundreds of thousands of people each year. The basic idea was that any object Irwin could get his hands on could be turned into a lit decoration, and so he's made hundreds of unusual objects that are put on display and are interspersed with more traditional Christmas-looking pieces too. With almost 1 million lights, pieces of scrap have been turned into moving robots, futuristic woodland creatures, and strange sculptures. While it may sound bizarre, everyone who visited left with fond memories of the place, but Irwin began to run into difficulties. First was the cost of powering the display, which led him to try to crowdfund online. And the second problem was that his neighbors were less than enthralled by having his creation on their doorsteps. After the 2018 event, he was forced to agree to shut it down for good. But never one to give up, he has now plans to build a Robo-Light park bigger and better than before in Desert Springs, so it may not be too long until he can welcome visitors once more. Number 11. Shiodome Caretta Illumination. For most of the year, the Caretta Shiodome in Tokyo is a shopping center like any other. Its 47 stories are full of stores, cafes, restaurants, and entertainment facilities. But it's during the winter time that the building truly comes into its own and draws more than 500,000 people every year. That's because they go to the next level with their decorations and fill the spaces with more than 250,000 of LED lights, along with fantastical trees and other structures. Each year, the display follows a theme, often in collaboration with Disney. So in 2018, it was designed to look like a Christmas ball from Frozen, while in 2019, it was inspired by Aladdin. It's such a popular event that it runs for longer than most Christmas displays, with the first choreographed light show beginning in mid-November and the last taking place in February. The 10-minute music and light spectacular takes place every quarter of an hour, and as well as featuring the LED lights, also uses lasers, pyrotechnic effects, and music from the movies too. As well as the main Christmas display, the space is set aside for exhibitions based on that year's theme. These often include photograph spots where visitors can take selfies with characters or backgrounds from the movies, and also have the chance to see memorabilia that was used on the set during filming. Number 10. Lego Christmas Tree. Since it was first created in 1949, Lego has become one of the most popular toys in the world, allowing you to create virtually anything you can imagine. It has gone on to inspire movies, video games, and amusement parks, and it's at Legoland that you'll see some of the biggest and most inventive creations of all. In recent years, the Legoland California resort has become particularly renowned around Christmas time, because it's there that they build the largest Lego Christmas tree on Earth. Standing more than 30 feet tall and illuminated with 11,000 LED lights, it's built from more than 245,000 bricks and is surrounded by a range of other structures. The switching on of the lights has become an annual tradition, and it's done by celebrities, with recent VIP guests including Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. During the festive season, visitors can also see a brass band playing by the tree, are covered in artificial snowflakes, and can join Santa's elves as they sing classic Christmas songs. It's a true celebration of all things Lego and Christmas, and this is by far the most popular time at the resort. Number 9. Luce de Artista. Cities and towns across the world install light displays to celebrate the festive season each year, but one that stands out above the rest is the town of Salerno in Italy. For 14 years, they have held the annual Luce di Artista festival, which sees the streets filled with lights and decorations, as well as a large Christmas market with stalls selling souvenirs, presents, and virtually every type of food you can think of. It attracts over 1 million visitors each year, and the decorations cover such a vast area that there's no way you can take it all in at just one night. From the giant Christmas tree in the central square to the variety of animals, streetlights, illuminated tunnels, and fairy tale-inspired installations, every direction you look, there's something new and amazing to explore. There's also a variety of fairground rides to go on too, but the most popular has got to be the almost 200-foot-tall Ferris wheel that gives the opportunity to get a bird's-eye view of the town, and it's only then that you truly realize the scale of the celebrations. We're constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. Brookgreen Gardens. Brookgreen Gardens is a botanical garden, sculpture park, and wildlife reserve in South Carolina. It covers an area of around 9,100 acres, and while it's a popular destination throughout most of the year, it's the Christmas celebrations that are truly next level. Known as the Nights of 1,000 Candles, 4,500 candles are positioned around the central gardens and lit every night by volunteers, who also stay on hand to relight them if they get blown out by the wind or visitors. Along with these are a further 2 million electric lights throughout the rest of the site, which illuminate the sculptures and plant life in a spectacular fashion. The Christmas tree itself has 130,000 lights on it, and the event has become so popular that more than 5,500 people visit each night while it's on. As you can imagine, it takes a huge amount of organization to prepare and requires the efforts of 150 staff and volunteers who begin setting it up 3 months before opening night and spend a further 2 months taking everything down again. Number 7. Cathedral Square. Cathedral Square in the capital city of Lithuania, Vilnius, is the heart of the city and is where all the major celebrations take place. It's in the square that the residents hold parades, music concerts, exhibitions, and fairs. But the biggest event of all takes place at Christmas time, when a huge 88-foot-tall Christmas tree is installed and is surrounded by other installations such as a life-size nativity scene and other monuments that celebrate Christmas and the history of the city. It's the tree that takes the pride in place, though, and there's nothing else quite like it. The decorations on it change every year depending on the chosen theme. But one thing that remains is a canopy of 70,000 bulbs that hang from the very top of the tree and branch out to stalls that are arranged around it. It produces so much light that it's visible from planes landing at the airport several miles away, and is said to illuminate the sky so much that it's impossible for residents to see the stars, and often makes animals believe that it's still daytime. Number 6. Miracle on 34th Street. Every year on the 700th block of 34th Street in Baltimore, Maryland, residents hold the Miracle on 34th Street display. Most of the row houses take part in the tradition that began in 1947, when the movie with the same name was released, and it sees thousands of bulbs and decorations adorning the buildings, which creates a wondrous valley of light. People visit from miles around to see it for themselves, and can expect to see countless Christmas trees, trains, animatronic figures, projections, Disney characters, Hanukkah menorahs, and a number of other artworks and installations that are not so traditional. There is, for example, a sea of Santas and Frosty the Snowmans, and one resident who's lived there for decades has become famed for his collection of hubcap Christmas trees. Residents often choose a theme for their own individual displays, which can range from anything between peace and harmony to pirates and magic, and various stalls along the street sell refreshments and souvenirs to visitors. Miracle on 34th Street has become controversial in recent years, however, due to the amount of noise and traffic it creates, and the amount of energy that's used to power the lights. There have, though, been efforts to introduce LED bulbs and other designs that use less electricity, and despite the concerns, the residents insist that they should continue with a tradition that's been going for almost 75 years. Number 5. Tivoli Gardens. Tivoli Gardens is an amusement park in Copenhagen, Denmark, and having opened in 1843 is the second oldest amusement park in the world. As you'd expect, it has plenty of things to keep the family entertained, from roller coasters and rides to shows and restaurants. And while summer remains the most popular time of year for visitors, it's managed to keep relevant during the winter months with an incredible Christmas display. At least 70,000 Christmas baubles are hung from the trees and lampposts, and more than 1,000 Christmas trees are arranged throughout the gardens. The stunning concert hall at the center of the venue is used as a canvas on which images and light displays are projected, and hundreds of thousands of lights are strung along the garden's pathways and rides. Furthermore, wooden houses are placed at every turn, and snow is sprayed everywhere to give the feeling that you're in a Nordic winter wonderland. Santa and his reindeer are on hand to welcome people to the gardens and to take a last-minute gift request from children. And for the adults, a large Christmas market is built that offers everything from decorations to trinkets to snacks, meals, and overly alcoholic beverages. For many people in Denmark, it's the best time to go to Tivoli, and it's a Christmas tradition to ride on the wooden roller coaster that's more than a century old, while eating sugary treats and looking down on the light display beneath. Number 4. Rio's floating Christmas tree. Rio de Janeiro is the party capital of the world, which is known for its Carnival and New Year's Eve celebrations that see 2.5 million people descend upon Copacabana Beach. But Christmas is also an incredibly important time for the residents, and they have one of the most spectacular Christmas decorations and displays that you'll see anywhere in the world. There are lots of cities that pride themselves on having the biggest Christmas trees, but Rio has gone one better. Every year they unveil the world's largest floating Christmas tree. First shown in 2014, the magnificent structure is 278 feet tall and is decorated by more than 3 million lights. Of course, it's not actually a living tree, but is instead a gigantic metal structure that floats on a specially constructed barge in the city's Rodrigo de Freitas lagoon. The lights change color throughout the night, from orange to represent sunrise to blue for its moon phase, green and gold so it looks like traditional Christmas tree with candles, and then multicolored stars. It took more than 1,200 producers, engineers, and artists to create it, and it floats to different positions in the lagoon throughout December each year. It's supported by 5 dedicated generators on barges to provide enough power to keep the lights on, and on certain nights is also accompanied by an elaborate fireworks display. Since its first introduction, the tree has become a point of pride for the residents of Rio, who see it as further proof that they know how to party and celebrate better than anyone else in the world. And based on how next level they took the idea of a Christmas tree, they aren't wrong. Number 3. Dyker Heights. There are plenty of places you can go in New York to see incredible Christmas displays, but while most people might think Rockefeller Center is the place to go, those in the know head in the other direction to Dyker Heights in Brooklyn. It's one of the most spectacular neighborhood displays you'll find anywhere in the world, and it's a tradition that was begun in the 1980s by Lucy Spata, who moved to her new home and wanted to carry on her mom's love of Christmas lights. At first, the other residents weren't convinced and even tried to get her to take her displays down, But as more and more began to join in, they were soon overcome by the Christmas spirit. Most of the families put their lights and decorations up after Thanksgiving, and it's thought that millions of lights adorn the streets each year. Some of the homes have so many decorations in their front yards that it's hard to know where to look, but it's almost guaranteed that whatever direction you're headed, you're bound to see some Santas, reindeer, elves, angels, and every other creature, object, or image that you associate with Christmas. At least 100,000 people visit Dyker Heights every year, which is nowhere near as many as visit other Christmas sites in New York. But for those who do go, it's the secret treasure that continues to amaze. It's where you'll find, for example, the biggest Santa in all of the city, who is 15 feet tall and proudly sits outside the Palazzano home, and one of the largest collections of nativity scenes and singing toy soldiers. One of the things that's most surprising, though, is the sheer scale of the festivities. Now stretching from 11th to 13th Avenues from 83rd to 86th Street in Dyker Heights, you can go on a guided tour on foot and by bus, which takes 3.5 hours to see everything on display. Number 2. Lustopia. Normally, when you think of Christmas, you imagine snow falling down on rooftops and people wrapped up warm, drinking hot drinks. But plenty of people in the world live in hotter climates, and they do things a little differently. One of the best places to go for a warm weather Christmas is Monterrey in northeastern Mexico, where every year they celebrate the Lustopia Festival. It began in 2017 and sees more than 15,000 lights and 250 gigantic illuminated figures being put on display along a 2-mile stretch of canal through the Paseo de Santa Lucia district of the city. The lights and sculptures have a distinct Mexican flair to them and are unlike any decorations you'll see elsewhere. They are representations from cultures around the world, and you'll see a variety of famous world landmarks given the Lustopia treatment, as well as famous characters, images, structures, and things that are on the verge of bizarre and strange. There's a 60-foot-tall Christmas tree, a 49-foot-tall castle, a magical tunnel, and of course, a Christmas villa where Santa lives. It's not all about bright colors and unusual imagery, though, and there's a whole section devoted to a more controlled use of white lights to illuminate tree canopies and create a romantic and peaceful setting amongst the mayhem that surrounds it. Furthermore, there's an extensive Christmas market that sells toys and gifts, as well as souvenirs from the festival. And instead of being served a hot chocolate or mulled wine, you can sit back and relax in the warmth with a nice cold beer or iced chocolate. Number 1. La Fete des Lumieres. France is undoubtedly one of the cultural centers of the world, and having been the country that's inspired so many artists and creatives throughout history, it should come as no surprise that when they put on a celebratory display, they're almost certain to go a step above what anyone else is capable of. The city of Lyon is a place steeped in history with its own traditions and causes for celebration. And every year the residents take part in the Festival of Lights, which is a way of showing their gratitude towards the Virgin Mary, on and around December 8th. Historically, multicolored candles would be placed on the outside of windows across the city, which would create an incredible effect. But more recently, with the advent of electric lights, things have gone to the next level. The celebrations focus around the Basilica of Fourvière, which is lit up in an array of color, and the Palace des Terreaux, where a special light installation is displayed each year. The creative minds from Lyon, most of whom have grown up with the festival, incorporate as many new technologies and techniques as they can with each display. As well as the main performances that usually include projected images and lasers which are choreographed with music, various artworks are positioned around the city, which encourage people to interact with them in unique ways or to simply watch from a distance. The festival attracts lighting designers from across the world, and you'll normally see museum curators, design consultants, amusement park operators, special effects producers, and people from a wide range of industries roaming the streets during the 4 days that the festival takes place in search of the next best thing. La Fête du Luminaire never fails to surprise and astonish visitors and leads the way in showing the incredible experiences that can be created with light. If you ever get the chance to visit, this is one Christmas celebration you don't want to miss. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.